Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Thursday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. We are back to put a little bow on Syracuse basketball for this year. Put it in the rearview mirror. Look a little forward. And then we shall shut it and move on to football eventually. Unless, of course, something else comes up. We'll go over some buy-seller holds that will impact next year in the basketball program. And like I said, we'll look at some of the recruiting class coming in. So there's really nothing else to do. You know, you would think we haven't been on, I think, since, I don't know. When were we on? The 10th? It was very early. It was very early in March. Say, you know, before tournaments and whatnot, besides the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I think, it
was March 10th, I believe, dude. Is that about right? It's about 2 weeks.
The day after we lost, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Been about 2 weeks.
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
So,
yeah, football. I mean, football spring practice has started. Second week started. They went live this week, and I looked at it. I mean, they had a couple interviews. Nothing crazy. There's not a lot of stuff. I mean, from some of the stuff that I heard was more or less that, you know, Garrett Schrader's, he's taken more of a leadership role, and they talked a little bit about this new offensive, you know, coordinator and quarterback coach team that came in, and talking about how, you know, they're just trying to learn the system and they're going to be doing some things. I guess they are motioning a lot more, and they're a lot more creative. So I guess, you know, listening to what Courtney Jackson and Garrett Schrader and some of those guys had to say, just learning the new terminology and kind of the new scheme and system that they're trying to bring. But, you know, Garrett Schrader said they're trying to look more balanced. And, you know, we got a spring game April 1st, but I think as far as right now goes, it's just, you know, those guys kind of fine-tuning stuff and learning the new terminology on offense. And then defense, obviously, they're just talking about the defensive line and whether or not they're going to be able to pull their weight this year. So,
well, I guess we'll know more, kind of like we did last year, once the season starts.
No, of course. Long time until then, but that's just what they're talking about, you know. And then I think they got a defensive lineman that's coming in and a senior transfer,
coming in to visit.
And visit this week. Cam Good from South Florida. So fingers crossed. Just another interior guy that's going to help us. So that's about all you got to look forward to as far as that goes.
Yeah, and we waited for stuff to pile up, and it just,
did not.
It just didn't. And I remember it's a similar situation last year, except for we got
That's all I got in 2 weeks.
We got deeper into March last year, so it was a little bit different, but there was a whole lot more to talk about. Obviously, we're going to get into everything here in a second, but first, let's hear from the good folks over at Athletic Greens. Tons of people take a multivitamin. It's important to choose one that is top quality. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients helps to support gut health, the nervous system, the immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's lifestyle friendly, adapting to a wide range of diets. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no chemicals or artificial anything. Plus, it costs less than $3 a day. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially during cold and flu season. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune Nation, supporting vitamin D in 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/sportsdrink. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/sportsdrink to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Colorcast. It's a live, audio-only sports talk platform, free to download and use. Talk to us, other fans, athletes, insiders in real time. It's perfect for watch parties, debates, post-game breakdowns, and reacting to breaking news. Share whatever you got on there. It's kind of like the green room that we will keep for podcast purposes. We'll use the Colorcast app. We were going to use it in postseason had Syracuse entered it, but they did not. So we will just have to keep our powder dry on that. All you need to do is download the Colorcast app. It's free in your iOS or Android stores. Create a profile, link to your Twitter account, join the league or group that suits you. Follow us at Cuse Militia to be notified when our room goes live. Thank you, Athletic Greens and Colorcast. Okay, so let's get after it. Look, trying to fill space here. Let's do this first, Joe. Where am I? Found a great new taco place.
Uh-huh.
I did.
Good for you.
I really did. I am having a hard time finding my photos. What is going on? Why? How come when... There we go. I got it. So I did some polls on Twitter, a bunch of polls on Twitter, and we were going to...
I don't know any of them.
I know, you're not on Twitter, but they're basic. I mean, you know. I kind of thought there was a chance we could go Sunday, so I did put them out on Sunday. So, you know, one of these is expired, and we'll kind of just cruise by that one when we get to it. And most of these are pretty, I don't want to say basic, but they are, you know, I guess the writing's on the wall for some of them, right? So
right.
Let's do the easy ones first. Joe Girard enters the transfer portal. Buy, sell, or hold? Sold, right? Joe, sell. Obviously, no doubt. Joe Girard's going to come back. There's no reason for him not to. It's going to be able to maybe even switch positions and kind of do something different this year.
Yeah,
so
we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And let's see. Frank enters the transfer portal. Now, by the way,
the numbers in the last
wait, I'm sorry. That's what I was just going to do. 185 votes on Joe and 79% sold, 17% bought, and 4% held. So pretty easy. Frank Anselm enters the transfer portal. Now, this one was the closest out of the bunch, and it was the closest in my head too, because I feel like if you really think about it, Syracuse is not, they don't need Frank, right? I just don't think they need Frank. It's nice to keep him here. You know, he's got a lot of playing time under his belt last year, which is a plus, and, you know, comparably. A lot of playing time comparably, right? You know, I can see Frank being an asset and getting better and better. He's had a couple good games. You know, he still struggles with knowing what to do sometimes. You know, coach was on him pretty hard this year. Joe, what do you say? Buy, sell, or hold? Frank enters the transfer portal.
See, this is difficult because with all this COVID stuff and all, I don't know how many years some of these guys have, right? Because I saw something today. James Zuba said, you know, he wrote an article for Nunes Magician saying that Jesse Edwards was coming back, which I think we all knew that, but I guess somebody asked and they made it an article, and so
his brother said that he was coming back.
Yeah, so just in case anybody thought Jesse was, obviously we got that. So
which was the one we were going to cruise by when we got to it, like I mentioned earlier.
Right, and Frank knows he's not going to be the starter, right? But Frank Anselm is also, he's like a late blooming type guy too. You know, he started playing basketball late, just like Jesse. And his first year he was here, he was technically supposed to be his senior year in high school. Right. So last year, even though it was his second year and he had redshirted, that was basically
by the way,
his true freshman year was this year, basically. So
right, he would have been exactly. He'd have been true freshman this year. He just graduated early. So,
right.
by the way, he would have 3 more years of eligibility. Yes,
I believe so. And the thing is that he's always going to have that opportunity to, like, you know, I mean, I think it's a good probability, you know, looking from his view, you know, if Jesse comes in and he takes even just a little bit more of any type of step that he did from, you know, the year prior to this year, because he took a huge leap this year before his injury. If he takes any other type of leap, you got to figure, you know, he's probably going to be looking to go pro next year. And Frank would have 2 more years after this to basically be the starter, you know, and if he takes a little bit of a step, because I think he did from the prior year to this year, then, you know, you're looking at a starting center position for 2 years, right? Barring some, you know, 5-star superhero that we possibly could get down in the future or down the line, right? I know we got Peter Carey coming in, but he's going to be a couple years too. So I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell just because he seems like he's happy in his role. His body language on the bench was good. He was always cheering for his team, and then when he had to come in and he had to play extra minutes or whenever he had to play, sometimes, you know, there was sometimes where Jim got on him, like you said, but for the most part, I mean, he went out there and he tried. He gave his energy, and I mean, he did the best that he could. And I think that he enjoys where he is. And I think if he was going to transfer, then it would have been last year. He came back this year knowing that Jesse was going to be a starter over him, and I just don't see a reason why he wouldn't do the same next year.
So, I mean, I sell too. By the way, 162 votes on this, 47% only sold on this, 34 bought and 19 held. But I'm on the fence with it. I don't think he's going to. I mean, we kind of waited 2 weeks after the season to see kind of what would happen. Transfer portal stuff really started to peg yesterday. There was a bunch of them, ton of them yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
So we didn't see any movement really with Syracuse. Well, we didn't see any movement with Syracuse men's, right? I guess there were some ladies that So that went. So, but this one I feel like I could go either way. And the reason I think he came back last year is because he knew he was, you know, should have been in high school still, and he was going to come out and try to prove himself. Well, if he thinks that it's going to take another year or two of development and he thinks he can go somewhere else, I think he will, because he can play right away, right? So
yeah, well, and I think that there's other things too there, right? I mean, for somebody, I mean, if I feel like he's a high character guy, right? Because for him to,
yeah, like you said, his demeanor on the bench was always positive. I mean,
yeah, but even on top of that, right? So this kid was in high school. If he wasn't content with or happy with getting a scholarship to Syracuse and going there, whether it was for the education or because it was a dream school or whatnot, then he wouldn't have reclassified. You know, he would have stayed in high school, played another year, maybe tried to get a better scholarship, but instead he reclassified, graduated high school, and he got into college earlier than what he normally would have. So, I mean, he sacrificed an extra year of high school and a possible better scholarship to go to Syracuse, right? And then after that, he still wasn't the starter and knew coming in that he wasn't going to be the starter, and he still didn't transfer even after this COVID stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that because of those things, I think that he likes the situation and he likes the school. And yeah, I think he's a high character guy that doesn't think about just basketball. Same thing with Barama. And I think we're going to see him in an orange uniform next year.
An easy one we already think we know the answer to. Jesse Edwards enters the transfer portal. I would have sold on this anyway, Joe. I assume you would have. There's no reason for him to go anywhere. He's got the starting spot locked in. He had a fantastic year. The momentum was building. Who knows what happens if we have him those last few games of the season. What did he miss? The last 6? Something like that? Or was it more than that?
Well, I think it was the last 6 before the tournament.
Yeah, the last 6 before the tournament. Yeah. And, you know, he was someone that obviously most improved player. I mean, he could have been the most improved player in the ACC for crying out loud. So, by the way, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it was 6. So there was no reason for him to be going anywhere. He's absolutely comfortable where he's at. He knows what he's doing. He's excelling. No reason for him to go anywhere. So that's easy, right? I thought that was easy before it was easy. Cy, this one's also kind of easy. I think the only tough one was Frank. Cy enters the transfer portal. Now, with Cy, no reason for him to go. He's at home. He's from the Syracuse area. There's no reason for him to go anymore. Came from Marquette already, so he would have to sit a year. So, by the way, Jesse, 75% out of 377 votes said sell.
Right.
12% bought, 13% held. So, Cy enters the transfer portal. That's an easy sell for me. He's not going anywhere. Another guy, too, who we got to watch develop late in the year, and just like Jesse, just had the injuries hit, and the sporadic games with him out really hurt Syracuse. Really
in a couple games too. Yeah, I mean, North Carolina is one that pops in my head.
Yes.
I mean, not only for Jesse but also for Cy.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we were even in that game like that with the amount of players that we had.
Well, I guess
the Duke game, yeah, but North Carolina, we only I think had like 6 players or something like that available. Scholarship players, like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Right. So, that one was one that obviously popped in my head. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Cy. No reason. I think that obviously the fans started to like him a lot more near the end of the season. We're going to talk about him a little later with some stats, break down season stats, and I think that that'll probably further legitimize him, I think, with our listeners and the people who listen. And
everybody big on Cy. I saw a lot of stuff on social media, like when he's doing good. Oh, he should be getting way more minutes, and he should be, they should have played him more earlier in the year. And, dude,
right.
These things happen. Like that's how players develop. You don't just throw them out there and have them get freaking pickpocketed and just pushed around the court.
Yeah, and we didn't have people have to understand too that a couple years ago they expanded the conference games from 18 to 20. Taking away 2 non-conference games, and then we just played a brutal non-conference schedule. So it's not a normal. Just 3-4 years ago, we were playing 13 non-conference games, and they were nothing like the non-conference that we had. We're used to be going 11-2 and then going into conference play, right? And that just wasn't the case this year. So again, that hurt because it's not the normal non-conference anymore, where you can play some of these easy layup kind of games and get some guys some minutes. So I think that hurt Benny and Samir a little bit in the early part of the year because we were trying to win big games. That's just the culture of NCAA basketball now. They took away 2 non-conference games. If you don't have a good enough non-conference and look at Wake Forest went 23-9. Non-conference schedule was 226 or something like that, and they didn't make the tournament. Right, so you still got to play a non-conference tournament. So now instead of 13 games where you can sprinkle a couple good ones and keep it at a decent strength of schedule rating, now you have 11, and you have to, kind of maneuver that non-conference schedule to where it's not too easy, and also it's not too hard. Because if it's too hard and you don't win those games, then it might screw you at the end of the year. But if it's too easy and you win those games, it might screw you at the end of the year. So
yeah, if you don't have the resume,
that recipe.
Yeah, you're towing a fine line. If
that recipe is unknown still.
Yeah, if the resume is not being built on, concrete, there ain't nothing there.
Yep.
It's just gonna, which to the point of Syracuse. I feel like Syracuse. They towed the line pretty good. Unfortunately, they lost against some really crap teams, and that tournament was brutal. The tournament was brutal.
The Bahamas tournament was brutal, and then obviously the Colgate Georgetown game, and then obviously we talked about before and ad nauseum all the ACC games that we could have won, but we just let the teams come back with especially Miami, the 2 Miami games, Wake Forest game. We just saw games just slip between our fingers. So North Carolina
twice with Miami, by the way, twice. So we watched the game slip away twice against Miami.
Yeah. So the thing is that Samir, I don't think, and this is just me talking because of just what I've been seeing from recruiting and everything lately and how I've been looking at it, but I don't really know how good these guards. I don't know if these guards coming in next year. Hopefully one of them are, but if we don't, and that's with the whole transfer portal stuff that was coming out, right? I saw something about Nelly Cummings, a guard from Colgate. I think there's another guard, Hammond, from Niagara, where Paulus coaches. Those guys are graduate transfers going to the transfer portal. And
former Syracuse target. Well, you're talking about guards, though, aren't you?
Yeah. And, I mean, those guys, if you can get one of those guys to come in, I mean, right now, to me, Samir is the starting point guard next year. I don't think a guy that's coming in as far as a recruiting class is going to take that away from him. But
definitely not right away, right?
No, but I still think that we need solid depth, and it wouldn't surprise me if we went out and got an older guard to just Band-Aid this for 1 year. And if that were the case, and this guy comes in like a Nelly Cummings and they happen to start over Samir, I still think that's going to be okay because Samir's going to be used, and Samir's not going to transfer out of his home city and home college again just to sit a whole nother year to go somewhere.
There's no way. So what do you think that does to like a Quadir Copeland or something like that? I mean, obviously I don't think he's going to play next year too much, right? I think he understands that, but he could, if no one came in, we would see him.
Well, I think Quadir Copeland, and who's the other guard there?
Bunch?
Justin Taylor.
Oh, Justin Taylor. Yes.
Yeah, I think those guys come in. I think that if they come in and we go and we get just a 1 year senior guy, like a Nelly Cummings, right? And then it's on the wall, like, hey guys, like we're bringing in Nelly, but after this year, Joe and Nelly will be gone. Then I don't think those guys will have a problem because Quadir Copeland, he's a combo guard, so he can play point guard or shooting guard, and Justin Taylor, shooting guard. So you're talking about if we bring in a guy and then after next year, Joe and said guy or said transfer is gone and it's just Samir and then those guys the next year, I think they'll be fine with it.
Yeah, you got to think so. Justin Taylor. He's a what? See, well, they got him on the brink of a 4, right? 4-star.
Yep.
So, what were you gonna say? Something?
No, I was just gonna say that's my worry is that we got a solid 5 that are coming in. If Cole comes back, we got a solid 5 starting, I think. But then we also have these 5 recruits coming in, and I'm just kind of up in the air as far as how many of them are going to be able to contribute next year. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. We always have high hopes, but it's always that. Period.
Yeah.
End of sentence. All right. Benny enters the transfer portal. A lot of speculation from the group of Syracuse fans that hate Jim Boeheim, I think, mostly. Yeah, I mean, of course, you're going to get sprinkling a little bit of everybody, but because he didn't get enough playing time early, that the thoughts were Benny Williams was definitely going to transfer. He had said numerous times he was not going to. I take the man not only on his word, but just his body language and the fact that, like you mentioned with Frank, I just think he's a high character guy. And I feel like if he said it, he means it. I believe it. So I would sell.
Yeah.
On Benny.
And I think I'm going to sell too. And honestly, I think that Benny Williams partly is, I know it hasn't been officially announced, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Swider stays. And I feel like maybe, Benny Williams being here might be 50%. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been rumors that he's kind of taken him under his wing and everything like that, and, Benny Williams being the only freshman to come in and going against, imagine being an 18-year-old. Yeah, now granted, like Anselm, he's his age, but he's not a starter. But you go in and you're practicing against all these guys that are 3-4 years in, and you don't have any other of your peers that are like in the similar situation. Like, oh, we were all big man on campus last year. Like next year, you're gonna have 5 freshmen coming in where they can kind of use each other as motivation, as someone to vent to, as someone who can kind of relate to the situation that they're in, right? Benny didn't have that this year. It was just him.
Yeah.
He was like, and it's a situation where I just feel like I've heard things, and, Lockdown's talked about it a little bit where, Cole Swider is kind of taking him under his wing, and he kind of likes that guy. And Cole Swider, I think near the end of the year, finally kind of got his confidence. And again, when I go through some numbers later, I mean, you see some stuff like he probably should have shot a lot more this year. And
okay, fair enough.
I think that this guy can be somebody that comes back and fulfills the starting five that I foresee, and can really be the next guy to step out of the Boeheim brothers' shadows and be that leader. So, and I think Benny has a lot to do with that, and hopefully that's what happens. And I don't see Benny leaving. He's said it multiple times that he's not. So,
where was so we're talking about Cole. Oh my gosh, I covered it up. Hold on a second. I just screenshotted it. Let me look.
No, we were talking about Benny, but it kind of transferred over to Cole.
Right, but I have a poll for Cole. So that poll is Cole Swider returns to the Orange next season. Okay, this was pretty close. And it's, by the way, the Benny was 328 votes, 60% sold, 15% bought, and 25% held. That's a lot of buy-in on that, I believe. It's big all the way around, in my opinion. All right, Cole Swider returns to the Orange next season. Look, Joe saw something in the rumor mill. The fact is that he hasn't announced yet, which tells me he's at least thinking about it. I feel like the guy's thinking about it, and he's sees an opportunity. I think he feels like he missed some time in the beginning of the year getting used to the system, and he had some pretty bad games. Joe was really hard on Cole. Joe called Cole garbage time Cole because that's the only time he shined. So
that was the beginning.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
That was the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think he feels like he probably knows, probably knows that he took some time to adjust and get acclimated to the system, and that once he did, he was phenomenal. And of course, it was down the stretch, always that last end of the season going to the ACC tournament for guys like that. And I feel like he's like, man, I could really contribute to this team next year, and that's what he's thinking about. And I think Cole might stay. I've said before that I would be extremely happy if Cole stayed. I feel like it would be he would be. There's a lot of people who are like, oh no, I don't want any of them returning. Okay, well, whatever. I think he'd be a huge asset to Syracuse if he returned next year. So I want to buy. I just don't think he will, but I want him to. So I'm going to sell, but I want him to stay.
See, I wouldn't even. I would. This is one that I'd probably use my hold on, but I just have this feeling because, like, exactly what you said. I mean, you got to look at this ride, right? Like the fact that Cole Swider picked Villanova over Syracuse, probably around the time when Villanova won a national championship, or they were more relevant than us, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was he kind of got buried in the bench. He never started really that much. Came off the bench. He wasn't the guy, so to speak, right? And then he kind of got screwed over in a situation where COVID and all this stuff gave extra people extra seasons, and now came to a point where he was supposed to be the guy. All the seniors are leaving, so it's my turn to shine next year, right? Except for they got to come back, right? So now he transfers. He comes over to Syracuse, and who knows? Maybe he's like, man, I made a mistake. Maybe I should have came to Syracuse this whole time, because I'm telling you right now, and you know better than me, like we would have used him more in the last 3 years than Villanova did. And he would have been more acclimated, and who knows? I just think it's a situation where he had to get acclimated to a new team, obviously to a new place, new style of
completely
playing.
Different style, probably something that
Right.
he's never even played, even throughout his whole basketball career.
Right, but then on top of that, now you're a starter. Now we're looking at you like, go, score, shoot. What are you doing? How many times did he give up open shots, And I think it took him a little bit of time to kind of get acclimated to the fact that, okay, I'm going to be playing 35 minutes a game, and these guys expect me to shoot 15 times a game, right? And be the guy. And that's what you saw near the end of the season, is you saw a guy that stepped up, and he scored like 36 or something in North
36.
Carolina, 28 at Duke.
36, you want to almost say 36 wasted points. He scored almost half the points for the game.
Right. And then he had 28, right?
Yeah, he had a bunch against Duke too.
Against Duke,
and
right?
we held strong with Duke. That was, that came out down to the last minute.
Yeah.
Actually, was that the one that came down to the last minute? Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was it was around there. It was around there. It was.
Yeah, so, I mean, those last couple games, I mean, he ended up being the second leading scorer on the team, but, I mean, it was because of those last two games.
Right, at the end of the year, yeah.
And then he has two options, right? It's you go pro or you stay. And granted, as much as he might be older, if you go pro right now, if he goes pro right now, he's not going to get drafted. Most likely he might make a G League team, whatever. He'll end up being able to play overseas. But I feel like this dude still has growth.
Yeah,
he could the difference of Jimmy and Buddy, to me, I don't want to say they've maximized it, but I mean, them coming back isn't going to help their draft stock, their professional, their situation in their professional careers, right? This is a guy where if he comes back and he gets out of the two shadows of, I mean, two guys, who's shot the most shots this year?
Shot the most shots this year.
Yeah. Who took the most shots this year?
Jimmy Boeheim.
No, Buddy.
Okay.
By a lot.
Okay, by a lot.
Buddy by about 142.
Okay.
6. Okay. But who was second? Jimmy Boeheim at 378. Then Cole Swider was 364. Joe Girard was 362. So you take all
those crazy shots. That Joe shot less than Cole, but yeah, there was games where he was just not good and he just stopped.
Right. So between Buddy and Jimmy, they shot 900 shots, basically, over 900 shots. That got to be made up from somewhere else next year. And if you take Cole out of that situation, where are those shots coming from? So, again, it's a perfect situation where in Cole, he's got a game where he can actually get drafted in the NBA. He can, you know what I mean? If he ups his game, the way that he was playing near the end of the year, if he makes that, I don't want to say consistent, but he was scoring 36 and 28. He ended up averaging 14 for the season. So he can get that up to near 20 like Buddy did next year without the Boeheims there. And I honestly am buying the fact that I think he's going to do it because he actually has something to gain by coming back versus the Boeheims don't.
Okay. Yeah. All in all, it makes sense for him to. I think I really want him to. Right. I mean, we can talk about the lineup. If he doesn't come back, you're going to have what, Joe? Benny in, a... Man, I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's the problem, right? Is I was looking at it. That's the problem, is if he comes back, then you know what the starting lineup's going to be, right? Exactly. Barring the fact of us getting a good transfer or one of these recruits come in and they just kill it. They're just way just underrated and everything like that, right? But that's what I was even talking about a guard, is I don't want to rely on any of these 5 recruits coming in. I want to be able to say, okay, we got to back up center, we got to back up this, we got to back already. If Cole stays, we still need another forward. We're still going to need one of these guys to come in to be able to give some minutes. I think would be good with Jesse and Frank at center.
Two of them. We need 2 of them if he doesn't come back.
That's my point.
Yeah.
How much are we relying on freshmen coming in if Cole Swider doesn't come?
We can't. I mean, that would be a tremendous. We would start deep in a hole next year. I feel like that's not to say these guys aren't.
Think about what Benny would have to do. Think about what the team would be asking Benny to do after this year.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. It'd be a lot for him to do as well. So yeah. But if Cole comes back, Cole and Benny start. I mean, you got some young guys on the bench. Who knows? You sprinkle them in before you know it. You're able to move things around. You know how it goes. It does the same. We do the same thing every year. We see the same thing every year with it. So, yeah. At the end of the day, too, when you look at it and you think, Joe's probably got. Well, technically, Joe has 2 more years, right? Because he could come back again, but he could.
He's gonna.
So, what'd you say? He's gonna? Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it would be at this. I mean, looking at it right now. I mean, which is we're a whole year away from it. There's no reason for him not to.
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think this team's gonna stay intact maybe minus one person.
For the
maybe.
Going into 2024. Wait, 2020.
No, going into next season. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, the only person that I would ever sell in any of these polls, as far as going to the transfer portal, is John Bolzak.
Yeah, and I didn't do John Bull.
And he did it last year, and he came back because he wasn't getting any interest.
Right.
So,
and he probably won't again.
No, and he didn't do anything this year too.
There's just nothing to bolster his stock, and he might as well just stay put and take the opportunities and make the most out of them when he gets them. I mean, I don't see. There's just the transfer portal so clogged with players that it'd be tough for a John Bull to get a look. I mean, where do you want to go? So, all right, Joe, we'll get into the next year stuff here in a second. We're going to hear from Athletic Greens and ColorCast real quick. But I did have one more poll. I think I put out that day. Did I put it out that day? No, I put it out a couple days before. Should men by the way, Cole Swider, 46% out of 147 votes bought that. 36% sold and 18% held. So the majority of people think are what? The majority of people think Cole's coming back too. Go ahead.
You know who led the team in rebounding this year?
Cole. Yep. I'm not cheating either. Joe told me to turn off my stats. He's going to quiz me throughout the show. Okay. Yep. Yeah, he did. He ended up on top of that. And I don't know what he averaged a game. What was it a game? 5,
I don't know,
6?
6 something, 6.8, almost 7.
So about 7.
Jimmy Boeheim had 24 more offensive rebounds than him. Cole still led rebounding. Tells you a little bit about Jimmy Boeheim's defensive rebounding.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. Tells you a little bit about that too, but he was close to the rim a lot.
That's what I'm saying, is I can understand the offensive rebound, but I'm just saying, like, he had 24 more offensive rebounds than Cole, and Cole still out-rebounded him by 20.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Joe. This was a poll. This was a Twitter poll. I put it up there, so we might as well mention it. I mean, you can fast forward to this part. You can, whatever. Should men compete in women's sports in the NCAA, Joe? Yes, no, or no, but as a third option.
Should men compete in women's sports?
In the NCAA?
No.
No, okay. 85% of 74 votes. 74 votes? Come on, guys and gals.
Yeah, a bunch of people didn't want to touch that.
No, I know, but it's anonymous, first of all. But I think the people who didn't want to touch it were like, I don't know how to answer this question. I don't know. I don't know what this means. All right. Let's go here after going there. Athletic Greens. Tons of people take a multivitamin. It's important to choose one that is top quality with one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients helps to support a healthy gut, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's lifestyle-friendly, adapting to a wide range of diets, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no chemicals or artificial anything, plus it costs less than $3 a day. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially during cold and flu season. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/sportsdrink. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/sportsdrink. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. ColorCast. It is a live audio-only sports talk platform, free to download and use. Talk to us, other fans, athletes, and insiders in real time. Perfect for watch parties, debates, post-game breakdowns, and reacting to breaking news. All you need to do is go to your iOS or Android store and download the app. It is free. Create a profile, link it to your Twitter, and join the league or group that suits you. Follow us at Cuse Militia to be notified when our room goes live. Thank you, Athletic Greens and ColorCast. Okay. Obviously, you will catch us here live on the show in the Green Room app. Okay, Joe, we got 5 of these guys coming in. We touched on a couple of them, and it's been, we're a year separated from even really talking about these guys. Let's be honest. So I did a little bit of research before coming on today, and we can talk about them all, Joe. I will trust your opinion. Like we've talked about, plugging one of these guys in immediately would be a difficult task. I think Cy starts. I hope Swider comes back. But let's just hypothetically say Swider does not come back, Joe. Okay? What do we got? We got Chris Bunch, right? Are you on mute?
No.
So,
sorry.
Okay.
I was I
you're
thought
very,
you were
very quiet. So let's start with Chris Bunch. Let's say that Swider doesn't come back. I feel like this is the best option. I feel like he's a 4-star. Okay, 6'8", 190. Long, obviously. He's got a good shot. He can rebound, and like I said, with the length, it suits the zone. It's really and he's athletic. So if anybody's going to fill those shoes, Joe, what do you think about Chris Bunch?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, he is the best recruit that we have. And 6'7", 185, obviously, he's got the length and everything. To be a wing, to be a good wing. But again, just like what we saw with Benny, I mean, Benny was rated higher than any of these guys.
Yeah.
And there's always that transition. And a lot of this is how the kids handle this transition. So, I mean, that's why it's tough to, again, like we can talk about them and talk about what they can do on some of their highlight tapes and everything. But I remember last year doing this and watching some of Benny Williams' highlights tapes, and he looked really good on the highlight tapes, and then you see him play and you're like, well, where's the rest of the tapes that they didn't, where's the rest of the part of the game they didn't show, and how did he play? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of starting to, especially, I don't know, sometimes it's more, it's easier for me to get excited for people as far as football recruits, but I
don't get excited for any of them.
Yeah, I know. I get that. It's just one of those things where you just never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. I hate getting too excited. That's my thing. And I could easily get too excited about any basketball recruit. I was super, super stoked about Benny. I was super stoked about Joe. We all remember what Joe did, his first year. I mean, he got plugged right in. It was a struggle, right?
Yep.
There were some very bad moments, and I just don't get too high on these guys. They got a lot of pressure coming in, and my expectations are low. Therefore, whatever I see in the positive is a bonus. That's how I got to look at it for my own sanity.
Yeah, and again too, a lot of this comes down to some guys don't have to be strong or have a lot of weight on them to play strong. So that's another thing that you never really know until you get in there and you see him against stronger guys in competition. But, Chris Bunch, 6'7", 185, he's got to put some weight on. Quadir Copeland, 6'6", 175. Peter Carey, 6'11", 190. I mean, I'm looking at these guys as it's a good recruiting class to bring in, but some of these guys, based upon just their strength and size, probably won't even be able to play or help us next year. So, but yeah, I mean, Chris Bunch, as far as what the scouts say and what everyone's talking about, I mean, he could be a possible, guy to come out and definitely get some burn.
You know what? Well, look, I went back and looked at an old SI, or I don't know how old it is. Let me see. Is there a date on it? No, November 12th, 2021. Our good buddy, Mike McAllister, over at Sports Illustrated SI. He said, well, he's got the coach quoted in here as far as Peter Carey goes, said he's 7'1". So he's listed at 6'9". Or excuse me, 6'11".
Yeah.
220, which is that's a good size, man. But 7'1's even better. So I don't know. He's another guy that can, he's not going to put the ball on the floor a ton. He's just going to slam it. He's going to be that guy. He's got good hands.
Peter Carey?
Yeah. He's got good hands. His coach was quoted as saying he times his blocks like nobody he's ever seen in D1, and he's coached at all the levels. And that's his AAU coach, Jesse Shapiro, by the way. And so, look for a guy like Peter Carey to just, he could just be a ball swatter, if anything. So, I mean, and obviously, if he is 7'1", that's an advantage, of course. And we need someone strong down low. And if this kid develops, freshman year a little bit, maybe gets into his sophomore year and he gains a little bit more weight. I mean, he could be the guy we've been waiting for since Christmas. And not like last Christmas, Raheem Christmas.
No, I mean, I'm happy with Jesse right now.
I'm happy with Jesse, too.
He can give us one or two more years, but I mean, right now with Frank and Jesse, Peter Carey, he's going to come here, and I look at it like I don't expect anything from him this year. I mean, I'd like to see him in some early non-conference games, see what he's got, and, see kind of what he's good at and what he's not good at, and then we'll take it from there. I mean, obviously, if somebody comes in and they're a freak and they're just going to take somebody, but I just don't see this guy coming in and taking over Jesse.
No. But next year, if this kid develops, I mean, he could very easily, at the very least, surpass Frank. He's just way big. First of all, he's way bigger. I think that with a year under his belt, and we don't know what Frank could go off next year. He could be another Jesse Edwards.
I feel like he took a step.
Frank, yeah, he definitely did.
I thought he was better this year than he was last year.
Absolutely. Sure. How much did he play last year? I mean, I don't barely ever remember. He wasn't much. It wasn't much at all. He got much more burnt this year, and obviously he's going to get better with the more he gets. And he did do I thought he did a decent job of making the most out of his opportunities, but I'm not a coach, and I don't see all the little things that coach sees. And obviously, he was frustrated sometimes, right, to say the least. So, all right, we've done Chris, we've done Peter. You mentioned Quadir Copeland. This is a guy, 6'6", 175. Okay, physical, quick, obviously athletic, and he can play the 1 or 2. According to this evaluation from Mike McAllister. So, actually, Jason Jordan, that's his analysis over at SI All-Americans. So, don't know a ton about Quadir Copeland. I know the name was big, 3-star, and obviously going to be in, let's see, could be next year. Joe thinks Joe's going to stay. But the point guard's developing some depth finally. I mean, remember a couple years ago, we had two. We had 2 guards, right. Period. So developing some depth there, which is going to be good so long as no one transfers. And, we'll see what happens. But like you said, I don't think anybody's going to come in and take anything away from Cy, especially at first. But, there could be situations where you see a Quadir and a Cy, right? I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on his jump shot. I think Justin Taylor's more of the 3-point guy than Quadir Copeland. But, I mean, at 6'6", I know 175 skinny, but at 6'6", that height at the top of the 2-3 zone is really what I look at. And, again, just me, personally, I would like to see Syracuse get a transfer guard. I don't know exactly how many more scholarships we have or how much more we can dip into that. But, transfer guard, transfer forward, something like that to give us some depth. But right now I look at it like I'd much rather see that. But as far as looking at Quadir Copeland, and I feel like I don't know how good of an outside shooter he is. I feel like he's more of a take it to the basket kind of guy. And I also kind of feel like this is, I don't want to say forcing a guy into playing point guard, but I think this is more of like
he's a penetrator. He's going to be someone that's going to be able to penetrate, and he's got good ball handling skills, and he's going to be able to, who knows, kick out situations or.
Well, and if he can play point guard 6'6", 175, he's going to be having height mismatch stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it could work out. Who knows? Maybe he's honed some of his point guard skills in IMG and everything like that this year when he moved there to play with Justin.
Defense.
Taylor, who's always coming in. But, I mean, if he can play defense, and I think that's the one thing, right, is that we've seen – I mean, our offense this year, it was awesome to watch that offense sometimes.
Right, struggled on defense.
Most of the time, right? But
I thought the defense, by the way, I think the defense, coach said, it's not as good as yeah, I know, but it got better. The defense got better towards the end.
Yeah, near the end. But when you look at it throughout the year, that's why we didn't win the games that we won that didn't give us the resume to get us into the tournament, right? I mean, you can be good by the end of the year, but that's what it's all about is when are you going to gel? When is it going to click? And if it clicks too late, then you don't get enough wins, and there you go. So the end of the year, especially, like I said, Jesse and the ifs and whats, but even at the end of the year, I thought that we were head and shoulders above where we were earlier in the year. And, it's what it is. But when you look at this recruiting class, I see defense, I see size, I see athleticism, right? And you just hope that,
which we missed. We missed some athleticism. Obviously, this year is probably the biggest topic of the year of the season.
Yeah.
So
they're going to come and they're going to compete. And I hope that Quadir Copeland can transition to a point guard better than Joe did, and be our leader in the future. It ain't going to be next year, though, most likely.
No. He looks like a young Dr. Dre, by the way, I think. Not that that's just food for thought. Food for thought. Look, who's next? Let's do Justin Taylor. You were just talking about Justin Taylor, guard. 6'6", 200. One of the best shooters in his class, high basketball IQ. Obviously, at 6'6", at the top of the zone, he's going to have some length. Look for turnover opportunities and things like that. It's going to fit well in the zone. So, 4-star, by the way. So another really. This was one I remember when he announced. I was like, "There's no way we're going to get this dude," and we did. So. Let's see. Nationally ranked 108 at the time. Let's see. When did I print this? This is last week. I assume 247 keeps their stuff updated. So, nationally ranked 108th, position rank 26th, and in the state he was ranked 18th overall. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, and he
out of Florida too, by the way.
He's a little. What's that?
Out of Florida too. That's a good state to be ranked 18th then.
Yeah. So yep. And he is 6'6", 200 pounds, 25 more pounds, heavier than Quadir Copeland. And this guy, realistically with him, whether we bring in a transfer guard or not, but if we don't, then I feel like this is the guy that we might see come in and kind of be that person. Taller guy that can shoot threes, come off the bench. I could see a situation where if we don't bring in a transfer guard to where this is the guy that comes in to spell Samir, Joe moves over to point guard, right? And then he plays shooting guard. Then maybe bring in Samir for Joe to give him a couple minutes, and then Samir's point guard. But as long as he can play defense and just the fact that he's just a talented three-point shooter, I think that gives him the upper hand. Especially considering that Samir's a point guard and Joe is a combo guard. I'll give him that. He played point guard all these times, so he's probably going to be the point guard when Cy does come out. So if there is a guard in this class that's going to come in and help us next year, it's going to be Justin Taylor with his height in the front of the 2-3 zone and shooting threes.
And like you said, getting a lot of defense. Got Cy, he was probably elevated to one of our best defensive players. Defensive point guards, I should say, I guess, at the top. He was really good, and he rose to that. Okay, he just made the most out of what he could do. And Joe has never been known for his defense, so you've got a lot of guys coming in, like you said. To your point, you just mentioned a couple minutes ago about the defense. This is it's this class coming in. It shows that big time, especially. They're all big guys. They're all big guys.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's when I look at that and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Because you look at a guy where you could see in a couple of years where you have a 6'6" point guard at Quadir Copeland with a 6'6" shooting guard, Justin Taylor, with your swing forward that can shoot threes, with 6'7" Chris Bunch, right? Malik Brown at 6'9", and with a Peter Carey at 6'11". You basically just, you recruited a possible future starting five.
Yeah.
And it's just really one of those things where, they're all good enough to be able to be there one day, but when are they going to get there? And, what are the expectations from the fans? Because, the fans see Kentucky and Kansas and Duke.
Well, I was just going to say, this is the old school way of doing it. This is how Syracuse used to do it back in the day, man. And that's how they got some of those teams, late 80s, early 90s teams and stuff like that. When I was a kid watching them, you got to watch these guys for years, play. Well, Billy Owens, he was 3 years or something like that. But, you got to, that was a good chunk of my childhood watching all those guys. And,
Yep.
I mean, that's how Syracuse always developed. There's never been one of these, other than, a couple guys, notably Carmelo, obviously. But, with the way that Jim
we've
recruits.
had some 2 years, too.
Yeah, we've had a couple, But that stuff, too, has gone more it's just spread more viral throughout college basketball in general now.
Yeah, in the time.
There's the opportunities the opportunities that they have now with these European leagues getting to be as popular as they are and stuff like that. There wasn't just like one main home. Like you can go almost anywhere and make decent money now.
Well, and you got to strike when the money's good too, right? So Tyler Ennis had an unbelievable year. Got to go, right? One and done.
Yeah.
Had to do it, right? But even Deion Waiters, Michael Carter-Williams, Malachi Richardson, Tyler Lydon,
all had decent careers.
Two and they're gone.
Yeah.
Two and they're gone, man.
Yeah, and I remember
Johnny Flynn only did 2, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
wasn't he 2 or 3?
No, he definitely did. He definitely did 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would have to look at that. By the way, he was ranked class of 2007, ranked 5th on the list here for all-time commits, according to 247. What was I going to say though?
I don't know.
I forget. You screwed me up.
Sorry, bud.
It's fine. I was going to make a point about somebody. Oh, Tyler Lydon. I remember thinking Tyler Lydon, he needs one more year. Were we doing the show then? Why do I feel like we were doing the show then? Maybe.
Yeah, we were.
We were, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being like, when he was leaving, like, man, I was so devastated. But at the same time, I was like, he's not going to do that good. Well, I was wrong. That's why I don't.
At least he went and made money before he got that hip injury, and now he's retired. So
yeah, he's already retired. And
that's why kids go, though, because anything can happen just like that. Johnny Flynn had hip situations. I know Ennis has had some. These injuries happen, and sometimes if you can strike it when your stock is high and someone's going to pay you a lot of money to play basketball, you gotta take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got one more to go over here. I'm just finding something here. All right. Malik Brown, forward, 6'9", 210. Good sized guy. Good rebounder. Got a hell of a wingspan. Doesn't give me the exact schematics on that, but he was in high school. This is noted here that he was used in the press a lot on both sides of the ball. So, someone who can help get the ball up is, being facilitated too, and also good on defense, and that's the wingspan. So, another guy who's going to be able to contribute a lot on defense. And we all remember from the past, let's see, I don't know, probably what, Joe? 3 years? We've been really, really bad with the press. I mean, it's been an obvious problem, I think, for Syracuse basketball the past couple of years. So yeah, it seems like we're, this next class, obviously they're not going to play next year, but got the guys, if they stay, to be able to kind of turn some of those things around.
Yeah, so there was a recent article, and it's, forgive me that I just forget where it's from, but Malik Brown, he actually plays in Virginia, Dyke, Virginia, and he actually won, I think, Player of the Year in Division II of the high schools there. I don't really know how high school works there, but he won Player of the Year. They won a state championship, I think, for the 4th time. And he's ranked 9th in the state. And usually Virginia has pretty good basketball. So to me, in this article as well, they had said
247's got him 8th in the state. I'm just
okay, 8th in the state. Yeah. So from what I see and from this article that I read, like they even said it, like Malik Brown seems very underrated in this class. To me, I think that he is rated lower than what he is because a lot of this stuff is sad as everything is political nowadays. So, if you're not in the high end AAU circuit, or if you're not at some, like IMG Academy, like Quinnier Copeland and Justin Taylor went to, name recognition. He just stayed at his high school in Division II, which I'm assuming isn't probably the most competitive division of high school in your state. And I mean, the dude's solid. And 6'9", 210, and like you said, used in the press. Like, to me, he seems like a guy he's not flashy. He ain't gonna score you a lot of points, but does all the dirty work. And at 6'9", 210, and with the wingspan and everything that he has, like, he to me is the guy. Like, Cole Swider doesn't come back, and we don't get a transfer, which I think would be a huge mistake from our coaching staff anyway, to put our freshman recruiting class to come in that situation.
They got to be recruiting Cole Swider.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But either way, Cole Swider does not come back. This is the guy I look to actually possibly be the man that steps in and plays, because it's going to be all defense. Can you play defense? And
well, that's what this team was built. This is what this team was built on. I mean, we might give up a little offense with some of these guys in the future. Who knows? But that's what this system is built on. And we did hear Jim say, he did it. You saw it in the ACC tournament. He changed up the defense a little bit. What if Jim does that, like, I don't know, 10 games ahead of when he actually did it? 10 games ahead of the, maybe around the time we lost Jesse or just before, if we start working on that, that kind of triangle defense, right? And, because it worked, it threw a wrench in things for a lot of people. And if Syracuse could be versatile to switch in and out of that zone when they need to, they could be dangerous, especially with the guys coming in.
Well, I think that this year was the one year, and I think that, like, to your point, to your credit, they just kind of caught on a little too late, because they should have been changing up their defenses, because that's what you do. When you don't have a defense that you can say, this is what we're just really, really good at, and we're going to stop you, right? Instead of, this is what we run, and if we don't stop you, we're just going to try to make it work, right? Like, no. Go to man and maybe make them try to do something, right? Or go to a different zone and try to make them do something. This should have been the year where we should have been probably had 2, 3, 4 different type of zone kind of weird defenses that we could throw at them, and just to confuse the teams for a couple minutes, a couple possessions, to just get them to, to gain some possessions back and get them confused, and then pop back to another one, and then they got to get used to that one, right? Like, that's how that works. And I think that we should have done that a lot more this year, and that last game kind of proved that we probably should have. To play that type of defense without Buddy, and it was all because, I was almost like Duke didn't know what to do because Buddy wasn't there, but also changing up defenses and stuff, they got to get used to it. They got to figure out how to beat it. And when they beat it, change to something else with a little bit of a twist, right? Like, you just got to be a little bit more, more
rocks in
adaptable.
Your pocket. You just got
a little bit more adaptable to different things,
less
different
predictable.
ideas.
It's just everything was too predictable with the defense. Everybody knew the weak spots. They knew the struggles, and with the ball chasing and the way that some of these teams are moving the ball. I mean, obviously Syracuse just didn't have what it took. They just get lost real easy. And Cole out there in the beginning of this thing kind of lost, a lot lost. Mentioned him. He just started in a hole. He just didn't have a choice. So, anyways.
Well, it's and like I said, unfortunately it stinks. But, like, again, it was almost like the definition of insanity this year, because, you can only go for so long. But saying, like, hey, it takes a little while for the guys to learn to do it together, right, and learn the rotations before it's like, okay, they know them, they just can't do it. But we're just continually going to throw the same thing at you. So it was unfortunate, but it's positive to see that we got some of these guys coming in. And I think Malik Brown is an underrated guy from a smaller town, smaller school. And I look to him to kind of be the guy that's probably going to come in first forward off the bench behind Benny and Cole. I mean, God, if Cole doesn't come back, think about the shots. Like, we just talked about the fact that 900 shots are going to be gone from last year's team with the Boeheims. Add another 300 something to that with Cole, And then imagine just right
Joe,
now.
can you imagine just Joe just chucking them up, just one after another?
That's all it would be. Close your eyes. We just finished the season. Close your eyes. Imagine the starting lineup is Benny Williams, Jesse Edwards, one of these forwards that we know nothing about with Joe Girard and Samir Torrance. Where are the shots coming from?
Oh, we're going to get hammered.
Just feeding Jesse and Joe hucking it.
We
almost need Cole. Otherwise, we need transfers.
Yeah, it's got to be one or the other, right? It's got to be some kind of experience in there. And that's the reality of it. I'd like to see Cole come back. You see how long it takes for people to just adjust. And it's just, you can have a high basketball IQ and still struggle adjusting to Jim Boeheim's defense. So,
hey, and I'll tell you what, buy, sell, or hold. If Cole comes back, do we have a better year next year than we did this year?
Yes, we do. So you would say, if Cole comes back, Syracuse will have a better year than they did last year. Yes, so, buy. I think so.
Record-wise.
I think so.
I mean, we didn't bring in. I mean, even with the same team. I mean,
I always say this though.
The unknown of the 5 recruits, and we bring in this because I'm right there with you. Because I look at it, and I look at a team that was kind of, I don't want to say forced into certain things, but like it was mismanaged. You know, I look at it like
it was.
Samir Torrance ends him.
We question Coach more this year than we ever did in 6 years of talking about Syracuse basketball on this show. And there was just
you know?
This is quiz time again.
Quiz time.
Okay.
Who made the most 3-pointers on a team this year?
Oh, I would have to say Buddy.
Wrong. Joe.
Was it really?
Joe hit 89, Buddy hit 88, and Cole.
Oh, come on! And Cole hit 81. Okay.
And Cole hit 81.
Wow.
Now, who do you think took the most 3-point shots?
I think Buddy did.
Buddy. That's what I was going to say. Joe Girard hit one more 3 than Buddy, and you know how many more 3s Buddy took than him?
I would say, can you tell me how many Joe took? And I'll tell you how many more Buddy took.
Joe Girard took 221. Okay. 89.
But Buddy took 260.
258.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So Buddy he shot 37 more 3s, and Joe hit one more than him. And go to take another one. Cole Swider hitting 81. You know how many he shot?
I bet he shot less than both of them.
197.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right. So when you look at that screams to me that Joe Girard's a shooting guard, especially since, let's just scroll down the list. Do you know who led the team in assists?
Is this a trick question?
Nope.
It's not?
No. Pretty easy.
Joe?
Easy. Joe. Yeah, Joe Girard. Yeah.
Okay.
He had 138 assists.
Okay.
138.
What did he average?
He had 11,026 minutes. Samir Torrance only had 392. Okay.
Okay.
So Samir Torrance played a quarter of what Joe Girard played. Okay. How many assists? Okay, Joe had 138. How many assists did Samir have?
60. I'm sticking with
88.
Oh, wow. Okay.
88.
That's really good. That's really good.
Now only 50 away, right? And
yeah.
He had only played quarter of the minutes, right?
Yeah.
Now, who had the most turnovers on the team?
Oh, Joe.
Yeah. So he had 138 assists to 92 turnovers. Not even 2-1.
No, which is to the good, technically. If you can double, I guess you're technically in the green.
Right. So 88 assists to Samir Torrance. How many turnovers did he have?
Oh, so how many turnovers did Samir have to 88 assists? I'm going to say 25.
26.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good at this. You got any more?
So he's almost, I know, right? So he's, yeah. Okay. Who led the team in blocks?
Jesse. Come on.
By how much?
By how much to second on the team?
Yeah. Mind you, he missed 8 games.
Average?
No, not average. Total.
Oh, total.
Jesse had 67 blocks.
Okay, I'd say
All right.
the next best would maybe be. This is a wild guess, kind of. Jimmy with 36.
Frank with 17.
Oh my gosh! Okay, that's good. Good on Frank. Good on Frank.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you look at that, Samir Torrance to me screams like he should have had more minutes. He 88 assists to 26 turnovers. That's almost.
I should have quit while I was ahead too. By the way,
over a 3-to-1 ratio, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at Joe Girard's 3-point shooting percentage, and I mean he missed more twos because he was forced to take a lot of twos because he, point guard's got to kind of try to take it to the hole. So Samir's better at that. So overall, when I look at it, I mean, I think Jesse's going to be better. I think Benny's going to be better. Cole comes back. He's going to be better. I think you're going to see the Cole of like the end of the year. And then you're going to finally see
there's
Samir
no reason
Torrance,
not to.
Right. And then you're going to see Samir Torrance settle into his point guard role. And then Joe's finally going to be a shooting guard where he
might
should
thrive
be.
there.
So, I mean, just looking at the stats, some of that stuff, it kind of gives me some positivity going into next season because, you watch the games and you're a fan, but then when you look at the totals at the end of the game, at the end of the season, sometimes your eyes plays tricks on you, right? So,
well, yeah, the especially the way Jesse didn't even get to finish the season. You wouldn't have. I mean, you knew he had a lot of blocks. I mean, he was leading the ACC at one point.
Yeah.
So he was right there at least at one point. So, well, and when you look back on it, it's the last point I got to make. And the last episode we did was like a sob story for a buddy because it was just so, we were not far separated from it. The loss to Duke, just Duke beating us 3 times this year. I was like, oh my gosh, it could not get any worse. It couldn't get any worse. It just was terrible. I was depressed. I felt bad for Buddy. I just love the kid. I think he's a freaking class act. I just hated the way all of that ended. But at the end of the day,
go ahead.
This is my point, Joe. This isn't your point.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. At the end of the day, we are going to be able to put all of that behind us. It's not an issue. There's no more kids on the court. We can go ahead and kind of get back to a sense of normalcy as far as the headlines and the way we evaluate some of these games. Now, that's not trying to take anything away from Buddy, but it was a constant just media point. It was just a constant. It's just everything. The criticism. We can go ahead and get beyond this now, and if Cole comes back. And we see what these young kids can do. Joe moving over a spot and Cy being able to kind of start right from the get with everything he learned last year. I mean, it could be, we might be scrapping again, we're going to be scrapping again. So that's just how I feel about it. The defense is going to be better, I think. Joe's going to be more comfortable. We all know how Joe is when he's comfortable. He's just never been really like super comfortable.
No. And I think honestly, like putting him in the situation of where he's going to be next year is if it is shooting guard, I think is going to make him more comfortable, like you said, on offense, which in turn is going to be, you saw his shooting percentage. He was in almost tops of the ACC in 3-point shooting percentage. You saw how many more.
He's at what, like he made 40 something, 40
something like that, right? So, and he's going to get more shots next year too. But imagine him being in a comfortable spot and then going back and playing defense, and now you got a guy over here that's probably a little bit better suited to play the top of the 2-3 zone with you, right? And people behind you probably better suited to play the 2-3 zone. I think Jesse's only going to get better if Cole comes back. He knows it now, and I think Benny, at least defensively next year, is going to be solid. So. I already looked for our defense to be better, and I mean, if with Joe moving to shooting guard and the way he is, in his head as far as how his game kind of, if he's doing good on offense, then it translates into defense. You could see a guy that could possibly lead the ACC in steals, and we've seen that before. But because he is a little sneaky down in as far as in the top of the 2-3 zone, but when you have more length and more athleticism that can go out and kind of make more rotations than, defenses. They got to try to take riskier passes. And that's when you see the steals more, right? This year you didn't see as many steals that we normally see because of the fact that, we just couldn't get to the rotations. People were open and people were cutting us up in the zone, especially early. So overall, just that whole change could help. And, I'm excited for it, but again, I'm also excited for the nepotism crap and all the stuff. And, it just sucks the way that it went because, we're fans and we've always saw them either going to the NCAA tournament or the NIT tournament. And not only is it the first year under 500 when he's coaching his kids, Buddy's last season, we're not going to any of those tournaments. And on top of that happens at the end. Yeah. That happens to Buddy, and that's what ends his career at Syracuse. It's just between COVID year last year and then this year, well, not COVID year last year, was the year before, where they ended it and canceled it. It's just,
that was 2 years
unfortunate.
ago.
It's unfortunate that this was the 4 years that Buddy had to play at Syracuse.
Yeah, it was the worst 4 circumstantially he could have. Even the sanctioned years weren't as trying as some of this stuff.
Right.
The COVID stuff was just like, you look back on that, and we're going to look back on that and be like, man, that was so dumb. It was so dumb.
Some of us.
Anyway, I did propose another poll to the Twitter following, and that is, which incoming recruit are you looking forward to the most? You had to write in Peter Carey. There were no write-ins for Peter Carey, and I find that to be a little disconcerting. I think people are just lazy. Had there been 5 spots, someone had to choose them. But out of 205 votes, we got Chris Bunch with 40% of that. We got Quadir Copeland with 25%, Justin Taylor with 23%, and Malik Brown, Joe's under the radar kind of guy, with 12%.
Yeah.
So
the only reason he's under the radar for me is because he seems like the guy that can go in and be like, look, I don't care about scoring. I'm going to go in and do all this. I don't think we're going to rely on him to score. He's going to be the guy that can go in there and he can handle the ball. They already talked about the press. So, if they use him for the press and stuff like that, I'm sure that, he's, steady with the ball, got good hands and plays great defense. And, 6'9" on that wing with that wingspan and that athleticism. I'll take that every time. So to me, that's a no-brainer for at least, the forward between Chris Bunch, Peter Carey, and Malik Brown, between the forwards and above, who's probably going to get more playing time next year. But that's just my guess. Just my opinion.
It would have to be Bunch. Syracuse fans make total sense with that. And whether Cole comes back or not, he's the one we need to perform the most out of any of them. And
Bunch?
Yeah, I think so.
If Cole doesn't come back, then we have to rely on him because.
Yeah. But if Cole does come back,
he's scoring. If Cole does come back, we can get away with Malik Brown and just his defense. But we're not going to rely on Malik Brown to score or shoot threes his freshman year. Chris Bunch is that guy. Right. He can do a little bit of both. Malik Brown is that tough guy that's going to get your rebounds and putbacks down near the basket and play tough defense around the basket. So.
And there was one other thing I was going to say. Man, I'm having a hard time. It's been 2 weeks. Right? And I'm lacking notes. So, I know I'm going to remember this as soon as we go away, but that's fine. So that's going to wrap up Syracuse basketball. And if anything else comes, it's just going to be news in between football. So we'll wait for some stuff to build up, guys.
Like this, right?
Huh? Do what?
Sucks that it ended like this. There's Sweet 16 starts this weekend. This time last year we were still talking about games and stuff. So
yeah, we were doing extra episodes and everything.
Yeah, it has to go this way this year for sure.
Yeah,
this season's going to be a season of shoulda, coulda, woulda.
It just didn't feel real the way it ended. It's like, is this serious? Like, could it really be this bad? Yeah, it can. It was. It is. Yeah. It was that bad. So
we were right there.
We were right
heart-wrenching games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were so many. Yeah, there's so many. I thought you were saying we were right there just in general. No, we were right there many different times, and just couldn't pull out the close ones. I mean, the 2 Miami games were just terrible, and we won't relive it. We're done. But I appreciate all you guys for hanging in there and coming back to listen. We're going to go kind of bi-weekly. We'll try to find something to do here bi-weekly, whether or not there's news or not. We don't want to come here and just do like stupid filler. I thought tying a bow on the Syracuse season and looking ahead at the guys coming in was going to be something fun to do, and we could have taken it and broken it into who knows. We could have broke this thing into 4 different episodes, but we're gonna give it to you all at once because that's what we do. Because I don't have time for 4 episodes. To be honest with you, ain't nobody got time for that. I got freaking lacrosse is 5 days a week. The only reason we're able to get here early and concise today is because my son's game was canceled because of the weather. Did you get all that? Did you get all the weather?
Oh yeah,
it was terrible. Yeah. So, anyways, huge storm rolled through here.
Yeah.
It was
all day.
It was nasty. Yeah, it was all day. All right. Look, we appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us. We really do. Until next time, we will see you. We'll keep you up to date. Keep us up to date. I know all my, my Twitter group that always alerts me to any news coming through. I appreciate all you guys. Tony shoots the text. So maybe we'll get James on at some point. Maybe we'll get Tyler on. Maybe we'll do something special for football coming up. I went long on that. I'm not sure why. Never really done that before. Just kind of rambling. I was actually thinking about ideas, things we could do. So anyways, that's going to be it. That's going to be it. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out of here. Finally, we're out.
Peace.